I have bought a small apartment in a lonely part of town. It is 27 stories, it's a long way to the ground. There I live with my friend Myrtle. Is there anyone called Myrtle? God for that. My companion, my best friend. She's not human, she's a turtle, and I'll love her till the end. She was standing at my window on a cold and cloudy day, till some wild and willful wind blew my poor Myrtle clean away. Will the turtle be unbroken by and by, oh, by and by? Lord help Myrtle as she hurtles through the sky, Lord, through the sky. Lovely. I ran downstairs, I was crying. I must find her, I must know if poor Myrtle would be lying several hundred feet below. Was she sundered into sections as her shell fell to the ground? Would I find 200 plectrums with Myrtle all around? Will the turtle be unbroken by and by, by and by? Lord help Myrtle as she hurtles through the sky, Lord, through the sky. Under, oh no, oh caretaker, poor caretaker, why do you lie here stone cold dead? Poor man went to meet his maker, 'cause something landed on his head. But the turtle was unbroken by and by, oh, by and by. For you guided my friend Myrtle, big finish, through the sky, Lord, through the sky. Oh, well sung. All these policemen mean by coming to the convent in a grim limousine after Sister Josephine. While you, Sister Josephine, you sit with your boots up on the altar screen. You smoke one last cigar. What a funny nun you are. The policemen say that Josephine's a burglar in disguise. Big bad Norman, 15 years on the run. The sisters disbelieve it. No, that can't be Josephine. Just think about her tenderness towards the younger nuns. Oh, Sister Josephine, they're searching the chapel where you've been seen, the nooks and the crannies of the nuns' canteen. After Sister Josephine, while you, Sister Josephine, you sip one farewell Benedictine before your au revoir. A right funny nun you are. Admittedly her hands are big and hairy and embellished with a curious tattoo. That's not that unusual these days, is it? Admittedly her voice is on the deep side, and she seems to shave more often than the other sisters. Oh, Sister Josephine, founder of the convent pontoon team. They're looking through your bundles of rare magazines after Sister Josephine, while you, Sister Sister Josephine, you give a goodbye sniff of Benzedrine to the convent budgerigar. A bloody funny nun you are. No longer will her snores ring through the chapel during prayers, nor her lustful moanings fill the stilly night. No more empty bottles of altar wine come clunking from her cell. No longer will the cloister toilet seat stand upright. Oh, Sister Josephine, slipping through their fingers like Vaseline, leaving them to clutch your empty crinoline. After Sister Josephine, while you, Sister Josephine, sprinting through the suburbs when I see, dressed only in your wimple and your rosaries, a right funny nun you seem to me. First line of the blues is always sung a second time. First line of the blues is always sung a second time. You picked that one up quick. So by the time you get to the third line, you've had time to think up a rhyme. Now there ain't no law that says third line's gonna be different at all. Wait for it. There ain't no law that says third line's gonna be different at all. Well, there ain't no law that says third line's gonna be different at all. Never borrow a mouth organ, not even from your best friend. Don't ever borrow a mouth organ, not even from your best friend. 'Cause you may survive the blowing, but the sucking's gonna get you in the end. Reg was a lonely glowworm, all alone in the big city night. Lady glowworms didn't like him, never really thought him too bright. She was just a red glow in the gutter, alone, perhaps lonely like him. His heart simply melted like butter. Her light made all others seem dim. But tonight he would not be requited. Her warm love could never be Reg's. For he was a lonely glowworm. She was a Benson and Hedges. That's the chorus altogether. For he was a lonely glowworm. She was Benson and Hedges. Lovely. He asked, did she come here often? He asked, would she fancy a drink? She might perhaps like a light ale. No reply, not a nod, not a wink. She was just a red glow in the gutter. Smouldering, sultry, aloof, not one single word did she utter. And Reg, well, he never guessed at the truth. His heart was aflame with desire, but her fire was a pyre, it was Reg's. Chorus. For he was a lonely glow-worm, she was venison and hedges. Can we try the harmonies next time? We do very well. He desperately wanted to know her. There in the big city night, and there, like a moth to the flame, Reg was drawn to the light. She was just a red glow in the gutter, a beacon of love in the mist. She lay where some smoker had put her, and Reg could no longer resist. He burned more than his fingers that evening. Now he carries a torch with scorched edges. For he was a lonely glow-worm, she was venison and hedges. Oh, all right. Well, I did ask for it, I suppose. He fell like a fool for a cigarette. For passion can have strange effects. And his contact lenses were missing, and a tortoise had trod on his specs. She was just a red glow in the gutter, unmoved by wit, wisdom or wealth. Sat a firefly on fire and a flutter, and seriously damaged his elf. All she left was a small pile of charcoal. Remember, those embers were Reg's. For he was a lonely glow-worm, she was venison and hedges. I told you it was sad. The Cuthbert Ladies Magical Circle meets tonight in an upstairs aspidistra room that's lit by candlelight, where Elizabeth Jones and Lily O'Grady and 3 or 4 more married ladies practice every week unspeakable pagan rites. Dressed in the Sunday coats and the flower-pot hats, respectable middle-aged ladies running too fat. At that, there's Elizabeth Jones and Lily O'Grady and 3 or 4 more married ladies, each with a Woolworths broomstick and a tabby cat. Oh, they don't waste time with a Ouija board or seance now and again. No, none of your wittering, twittering, petty poltergeist for them. No, Elizabeth Jones and Lily O'Grady and 3 or 4 more married ladies prefer to be took by the whiskery chins of bogeymen. Their husbands potter and snooker down the club, unaware of the devilish jiggery poke and rub-a-dub-dub, where Elizabeth Jones and Lily O'Grady and 3 or 4 more married ladies are frantically dancing naked for Beelzebub. So after the witches' picnic and the devil's grog, after their savage panting, their hysterical leapfrog, well, Elizabeth Jones and Lily O'Grady and 3 or 4 more married ladies go back home for cocoa and the epilogue. You're all much too young to remember it. So be careful or you go on a Saturday night. If you see a little old lady passing by, it very well might be Elizabeth Jones or Lily O'Grady, or one of those satanical ladies. Their eyes are all and bright, their cheekbones all alight. Don't go where they invite, because the Cuthbert Ladies Magical Circle meets tonight. In her heart, she wanted to show him, but didn't yet know him. She didn't know where to start. So with growing abhorrence, she read D.H. Lawrence to glean a few ideas, which she turned down flat. She couldn't do that, not in a million years. I'm so glad you got that joke. I had to write another verse for more modern audiences, which I mentioned 50 Shades of Grey in, so but you know what I mean anyway. Joyce, the librarian, strict vegetarian, was burning with animal lust. Alarming sensations, strange palpitations, a mix of delight and disgust. So she busied herself rearranging the shelves to try and control her dreams. Joyce, the librarian, the disciplinarian, was falling apart at the seams. Very next day, she kept out of the way when George returned his books. But with growing conviction, as he wandered through fiction, she threw him some longing looks. And when George joined the queue, she knew what to do. She smiled and removed her specs, but then looked in horror, for he'd come to borrow the further joy of sex. Perhaps because latterly she'd read Lady Chatterley, something went snap in her head. She gave herself gladly, wildly, madly that night to George in his bed. But then just as she feared, George disappeared, some other librarian to woo. Now there's a sob in her voice, for both Brooke and Joyce are a fortnight overdue. Very sad. On the M6, tearing your hair, no holes in the ground, no work anywhere, only the codes. Isn't it rich? Isn't it fun? They do it on purpose, all down the M1. Here are the codes, millions of codes. And when you've stopped, nowhere to go, caught by the cones in one long contraflow. Oops. Trapped in a tailback again, and still tearing your hair. Why are there codes? Why are they there? Don't you love fast? Change down a gear. You thought that roadworks meant roadworks, my dear. It only means codes. Send in the codes. Don't bother, they're here. Perhaps they just breed. Perhaps they're alive. They're as likely to come to an end as the M25. Send in